All right, so Rick was in attendance. Tuscaloosa. What's the name of the stadium? Denny.
I just put it in go-to stadium.
Bryant Denny Stadium. Thank you, Debo. You were there with the CBS crew. You saw Jenny Dell on the sideline handing Nick Saban a cigar. And I think that was a great moment for Jenny and for Nick, but also for Jalen Milroe, who was being interviewed by Jenny after the game. I've never seen someone laugh so hard in the presence of Nick Saban, who also had Nick Saban as a coach in that moment. I think it was a fun moment for sure. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. But in terms of the game, you sent me and Debo a text and said, Alabama's not playing too good in the first 30 minutes of this football game. And then they turned it on after the half. Joe Milton, I thought, played his best game that I've seen perhaps ever. And I haven't seen every single throw he's made, but he was on time and accurate on a lot of the throws, some of them underneath, but he's not going to throw with anticipation. And we'll start with Joe Milton before we get to the Alabama guys, because that's the only Tennessee guy we're going to talk about. He's never going to throw with anticipation, but sometimes when you throw the ball 150 miles an hour, maybe you don't need to on the comebacks, on the throws outside. And you mentioned how athletic he was, and it showed up on from 1,000 miles away from when I was watching on television. But talk about Joe Milton, the athlete that you saw in person, and then some of the things he was able to do before, it sort of unraveled for them in the second half.
Yeah, I went taken back a little bit about how big this kid is. And he is put together and length and everything. He looks like a prototype NFL quarterback / tight end when he came walking out of that tunnel. And then watching him throw in pregame, I mean, he was standing flat-footed and putting the ball 60, 70 yards in the air. And there's no question about his stroke, his release, all that is just A+++ when you watched him in the pregame. Then I got into the game and he threw that whatever that wheel route was. The slot got matched up on a linebacker, which was a dropped coverage, and then threw a beautiful touchdown pass, I think, in that opening drive. And you just see how natural the ball comes off this kid's hand. But other thing that surprised me about him is that I thought he was a little bit earlier tape that he was just a statue in the pocket.
Yeah.
His athleticism really jumped out to me here. Now, he's not Anthony Richardson athletic, but he is a better athlete than I anticipated on tape when I got an opportunity to see him live. Second half was a different story, though. When they started to get pressure on him, when they started to get the rush and he got hit around a few times, he started to look at the rush and kind of was almost a little bit deer in headlightish. But you can see there is talent there. The biggest question is going to be on him is not the physical ability, not the mechanics in throwing. It's not the athleticism. It'll be the processing. And can he process at the next level? We had a lot of the same discussions on Anthony Richardson when we were talking about him last year at this time. But the one thing that Anthony Richardson had, he was just such a unique athlete for his size. I'm not putting that kid in that category, that arm talent and the way he throws the ball. When we watched Anthony Richardson throw at his pro day last year, very similar, but not the same athlete. And if he's not going to be the same athlete, can he process and get through the progressions that he's going to need to do and quickly at the next level? That part, I don't know.
I feel like Anthony Richardson, based on what we've seen through the first month of the season before he was injured, he's a better processor, it feels like, than Joe Milton.
He's showing he's improved since we saw the tape last year. Is he there? No. But
that's right.
Such a unique athlete that he can create on his own. I don't think this guy's going to do that same type of thing, create on his own, but he can move for how big he is.
Right. No, I agree with that. And one of the things that Anthony Richardson was not afraid to do in college and not afraid to do over the first month of the season is throw with anticipation. And that's one of the things that concerns me about Joe Milton. The other thing is he could throw with touch, even though he could throw the ball through the wall. And you mentioned the touchdown on the first drive for Joe Milton. There was a one later in that game where he needed to feather the ball to the back corner of the end zone, and he overthrew the tight end. Now, maybe Travis Kelce makes that catch, but the Tennessee tight end, it was a tough play for him. And just a simpler throw simplifies everything for everyone. So that's the concern. That said, still his best game. If you're sitting there on day 3, how
Yes.
early are you taking him?
I think you'll see how the rest of the season goes. But to me, it's all you're going to stack him right now in day 3. But once you get through that pre-draft process, all the testing, all the film study with him, all the uh, I guess essentials to play quarterback at that level, at the next level, if how many boxes is he going to be able to check? Not
Yeah.
physically, but mentally.
Yep. No, I think that's right. I think day 3, just because of everything that he's capable of doing and just finding a way to make it more consistent, I'm going to give him a pop
I'd give him a pop on this game from what I've seen in the past.
for sure. All right. Let's go to the other side of the ball. And I know that Debo has Dallas Turner listed as the next item up for bid. I want to start with Kool-Aid McKinstry, though,
Okay.
because I did watch him closely, and I'll let you highlight the other Alabama players because I didn't get through those guys. I want to start with special teams, though, because I think it was the USF game that he muffed the punt. And then Kool-Aid has since refused to catch punts. I would imagine Nick Saban wants to throw his clipboard out of the stadium with frustration because you're just losing 10, 15, 20 yards per punt on field position. So I thought he played pretty well at cornerback, and I like him as a cornerback. I felt this is one of the games I felt like, okay, I see everything that he can do. He can plaster receivers, and that's encouraging. But this special teams thing, man, this is a above the neck thing. And does that bleed over to your job as a cornerback? Like, how do you sort through all this?
Yeah, you grade it separately. Like I would not say that he's a legitimate punt returner in the NFL.
Okay, problem solved.
But he's a legitimate corner.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a really good game this game. A couple of times they tested him in the red zone, and he was in great position. And when they did throw the ball to him, he's just so smooth and fluid. The biggest question will be what Kool-Aid runs, because there are some concerns about if he's going to be fast enough or not. But his savvy and his smarts and his instincts take away the Texas game, which I didn't think he played very well in, but all the other games that's from a corner position is very solid. And he's more than willing in run support, which you get a little stronger, but he was very solid. Is he going to be a zone corner or a man corner? I think teams will have to determine that. But even if he doesn't run as fast as you would like, because of his technique, he stays on top of the receivers when he gets extended down the field. He just knows how to play the position.
And he looks long. I don't know what his
long.
numbers are.
He's very long.
What if he runs a 4.62?
That's a concern.
Joe Hayden ran in the 4.6s. He's a great NFL pro.
Yeah, but that'll be a concern.
Okay, I get it. I just wanted to get you on record. All right, so special teams, the lowest of the low drops. We're not concerned with that, but I gave him a pop for the way he played defensively.
Yeah, he played solid. He was a pop on defense, a drop on special teams as a punt returner.
Yeah. I can't imagine Saban's happy about that, but whatever. They won the game, and Kool-Aid played well because of it. All right, let's go to number 15, the edge rusher, Dallas Turner, who we haven't talked a lot about this year compared to how much we talked about Will Anderson, his former teammate, last year, but that doesn't mean he's not playing well. I didn't watch him closely in this game, so I will get your book report on how Dallas Turner did.
He was, the way they played this game and the game plan they came up with, he almost dropped in coverage more than he actually rushed the passer. I think it was almost 50-50 on the snaps he rushed and the snaps that and they played this game where the defensive lineman kind of sat and read first and then rushed because of the type of offense that Tennessee runs. But all I know is what I seen in the fourth quarter when they had to go get the quarterback and this kid put his hand down, he got after the quarterback. He had a big sack. He had a lot of pressures. Probably that last series or two in the fourth quarter. Didn't do much during the entire game. Still needs to get a little stronger at the point versus the run. But when he wants to go, and when you watch the tape on him, he doesn't have Will Anderson opposite him this year. So all the attention's going to him. But he is very quick with his first step as a pass rusher. He has speed. He can turn speed to power. He can bend and dip at the edge. He can find a quarterback in the pocket. So even though he had limited opportunities this game to rush the passer, and I know because I was down there, but this would be the game with like, why are you? Well, he would respond, our coaches, our game plan was to handle it this way. So this is what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
And but when they let him pin his ears back and go at the end of the game, he made an impact.
I think Braswell had the strip sack. And in that, I think
another very good football player. We haven't talked about him. And I don't
41, yeah.
Yeah, but he had the strip sack at the end.
But that may have been in a situation where Dallas was asked to drop. I don't recall specifically, but
because
by the way,
they were only rushing 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah,
dropping 7 or 8 in the coverage.
I should have asked you this, and I forgot. But Kool-Aid still your cornerback 1?
Yeah.
Top 10? Or you got to wait for the time?
Let's wait.
Okay. 4, 4, 8.
Top 10.
Okay. All right, Dallas. I'll let you do the drop or pop since I didn't see him.
Pop,
and this edge rush class is going to be stacked at the top. And I don't know if you've sorted out who you like the most here.
Not yet.
Okay, but he's going to be in the 15-ish range.
Yep.
Feel like that's about the right. Okay. All right. Another guy you talked about last week, and when I did my top 50, I think you said I had him too low. The man who can't fit in every house because he's that thick. I don't mean the door frame, I mean the actual house. Like you have to build a 4,000 square foot minimum house for J.C. Latham, the right tackle for Alabama. He is enormous. How did he play against Tennessee?
Very dominant in the run game. I mean, when he comes down on down blocks or angle blocks, he removes people at the line of scrimmage. He is not a left tackle athlete. He's a right tackle athlete. His length is incredible. He was solid in pass pro. A couple of times, what he'll learn in the NFL is when they drop, they take that first kick step in pass protection. And I've seen this in a couple other games. He almost opens the gate, which means instead of staying square as you kick step back and you turn like this. And when you turn like that, it makes you susceptible to inside counter moves.
So when you say turn like that, you mean he's almost perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, and that allows.
He is, if he stays square to the line of scrimmage as he drops, and this is some of the technique that I learned from offensive coaches, then you don't have to panic and turn and try to get your hands on the guy.
Right.
Stay square and then engage on him. Because when he puts his hands on you, you're done. You're not going anywhere. It's like you're stuck. But what I mean by opening the gate is if you watch him kick step and he opens his hip and it's almost pointing directly to the sideline.
Exactly. Gotcha.
Instead of staying square to the line of scrimmage, that's when you can get into some issues.
Because you can get beat inside to that point.
I would say, elite quickness with his feet, his length, and his power. I don't know how many times he just pushed guys past the pocket.
Right.
And the one thing that I noticed in the game that you can't see on tape is when the game was on the line in the 3rd and 4th quarter, he was the guy, when he came off the sideline and they were getting ready to line up, he went and high-fived and got all those offensive linemen going as they got lined up every time.
And I guarantee you made a note about it.
He is an intense dude, and I was very impressed with his leadership when you see it live that you can't see on tape.
Right. All right, let me ask you to rank these guys in terms of where you would take them. His former teammates, Evan Neal, I think he was teammates with Jedrick Wills, both Jedrick Wills, both former first-round picks, one with the Giants and the other with the Browns.
I like him better.
Oh, okay.
I really like this kid.
So you're talking.
I think he may be the first Alabama player taken in this draft.
I was hoping you say the first offensive tackle. That would be Caleb Williams over Peyton Manning crazy. But you're thinking north of top, like first 9 picks.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he's getting out of the top 10.
Yeah. All right. Great. Love it. So I'm knowing that I'm gonna go with Pop. I'm going to speak for you again. All right. A guy we talked about in recent weeks, in a pleasantly surprising way, Jermaine Burton, the wide receiver, big, strong, faster than I thought. How'd he do against Tennessee?
He was continued his rise through the draft boards because every time there was a critical third down situation and that quarterback struggles some now at Alabama, I'm not putting him in Hurts or Tua or Bryce Young mode by any stretch of the mean. But when they needed a play, this kid came up with a play, and the play that stuck out to me most, it was 3rd and 7 in the third quarter. They needed to keep the ball, and he ran an inside dig route, and the ball was thrown behind him. He caught the ball between two defenders, reaching back and catching the ball, and came up big every time his number was called. And I think people underestimated his speed. One of the things that were negative, because last year on him, was the inconsistency with the drops.
Yeah.
I think he has gotten stronger. He is quicker twitched. He is faster, and he is way more consistent catching the ball. And he's a legitimate vertical deep threat this year.
And we talked about him as a day 2 guy. I don't know if he sneaks north of that.
No, he'll be in the day 2 mix.
But I think he's certainly an example of someone who's helped themselves immensely
by coming back. This is a kid that didn't make a mistake.
Yeah,
right. Coming out last year. And this is a perfect example of a kid coming back and maybe a day 3 guy that's actually moved into the day 2 and a solid day 2 pick, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Again, another incredibly deep wide receiver class to go along with the deep offensive tackle class that we've talked about. All right, running back Jace McClellan.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him.
No.
He rotates with Rodell Williams down there. And this kid is thicker than I thought when I saw him in person. But he had a big game this game. Since they don't throw the ball as consistently as they had in the past, they're running the ball. But this kid is like a lot of running backs playing in this league, that he is maybe 5'10", but he's about 210, 215. Very patient. They do a lot of in between the tackles running. He has enough squirt through the
that's a new one.
Yeah, he can squirt through the creases inside.
You got to be careful when you do that. If there's a bathroom, not a bathroom nearby, squirt through the creases.
Probably a little quicker than fast, but fast enough. But I don't like his pad level all the time, the way he runs, but he's always going forward. There were a couple of times in this game he ran for a broke one to the outside where he did show enough speed to get in the end zone for a touchdown. Made a couple critical runs to keep the chains moving in the fourth quarter for him, and catches the ball well out of the backfield. Okay as a pass pro protector, but the one play that I watched, J.C. Latham got beat to the inside, and this kid came and just put his face in there and smacked the edge rusher coming off, whoever that was. I can't remember if it was a blitz or not. So very good football player. Is he unique or elite in any skill set? No. Is he very efficient in everything he does? Yes. Are there guys with his skill set playing in the league? Yes, there are. So I think this guy is a day 3 guy. But I do think that he's talented enough to make a roster, especially with the way that teams are going running back by committee right now.
So you're going to pop him?
I'm going to pop him. Now, his foot quickness isn't the same as Josh Jacobs when he came out.
Yeah.
But he is a very, very good college football player.
Let me ask you this, because one of the things I struggle with more than anything is figuring out where to sort of stack these running backs, because they're all, at some point they become almost like you're looking at the same player when you get down after the first, 4 or 5, depending on how deep the class is. If you're in a draft room, how are you sorting through in the spring the 500 running backs who fit the same, check all the same boxes? Is it come down to system? Is it come?
Yeah, that's when you are doing group studies, when you're trying to stack those guys.
Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time on that? Because is that position tougher than others in terms of?
But it's like, I don't want to call and everybody wants to devalue the position.
Right.
Like, he's not Bijan Robinson. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs, because those guys are more than just running backs. He's not Achane, because Achane had unique speed, but he's a very solid, smooth, efficient day 3 running back. Like we were just talking about the running back from Arizona State.
Scatterbo.
Yeah, who is a bigger back, really thick through his lower, probably more powerful. Also catches the ball very well in the backfield. I think he's a day 3 guy. But now you're going to go back and watch his tape compared to this guy's tape.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe you can take any of these guys and feel good about it, and then there'll be the one guy that the team takes in the 7th round who hits a home run and ends up being Philip Lindsay, for example.
Pacheco,
even better. Yeah, right. Gotcha. All right. One more from Alabama, defensive lineman Justin Eboigbe.
Yes. This kid is another kid that's under the radar that stuck out in this game. I think he had 8 or 9 tackles against the run. He plays up and down the line of scrimmage. He can play nose. He'll play 3. He'll play 5. They even put him out at some end. Typical Alabama defensive lineman that is about 6'4", 300 pounds, just long arms, just looks like an NFL defensive lineman. He is not an edge rusher, but he plays with heavy hands. He missed last season with a neck injury.
Oh,
Came
okay.
back for another year and plays with great energy and effort. He's probably going to not run a 5.45. He's going to be a 4.8, 4.9 guy.
That's moving though.
But for his size, he moves well. He made a play. Has to get better as a pass rusher. But if you want to go back and look at a game, I would suggest you go back and watch Texas A&M because he had 2 or 3 sacks that game. And that's the thing that he has to learn how to do. He's not going to be an edge rusher, but if you move him inside, he has power, but he has to learn how to counter once they get their hands on him. And I think once he does that he is going to be we talked about, who was it last year? Young, the kid that was a really good football player, showed up down at the Senior Bowl. This kid is a bigger version of Brian Young, I think was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Byron Young, yeah. Alabama's not Tennessee's.
Yeah. This is a bigger version of him. But he made a play in the second quarter that I thought was a game-changing play where they threw a screen. He got out of his rush, retraced his steps, and dove to make a tackle that probably would have been about a 30 or 40-yard gain.
Right.
So
you got a lot of pops in Alabama.
Yeah, it was a very good pop.
So this probably day 3 developmental guy right now, or
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in day 2 before it's done.
Just like Byron Young. So yeah, I haven't watched him yet, so I look forward to doing that. And who knows? Maybe he'll find his way into my top 50, Rick.
Who knows?
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
I mean, he's got to be. If he's one of your top 250 guys that you squeeze into the top 50, he'll be definitely.
Well, here's the joke. I say it says top 50, but I make the 2 in front of it in white so people can't see it when they read it on the computer screen.
Yeah, so it's amazing the magic you are. You're like that person that I lost $10 to when the first time I went to New York City trying to find where the Queen was.
Yeah, 3-card Monty.
3-card Monty.
3-card Monty. Yeah,